sent my son to Dagestan for 3 years. I instantly regretted it. The funeral was barely over, the raw earth still mounded over Layla's resting place, and Omar was already pushing me like he pushed her when she was alive, only now she wasn't here to absorb the impact. He was 16, tall for his age, and brimming with a rage I couldn't comprehend, a rage that had festered since he was small. School suspensions, petty theft was a constant, draining battle. Layla, she was the light. We met in college, a whirlwind romance ignited by her fierce spirit and her unwavering pride in her Dagestani heritage. She'd paint vivid pictures of her ancestral village nestled high in the Caucasus Mountains, a place steeped in tradition and ancient customs. She spoke of her family, her roots, with a longing that resonated deep within me. But Layla was gone, taken too soon by a brutal illness. The light had been extinguished, leaving me alone in the dark with Omar's growing storm. One night after the police called again some stupid vandalism charge, I sat staring at the ceiling, the echoes of Layla's laughter haunting the silence. That's when the idea, the desperate, improbable idea took root. I would send Omar to Dagestan, to Layla's family, to a place where maybe he could find the missing piece of himself. Ibrahim, Layla's distant cousin, was the only connection I had. I remembered him vaguely from our wedding, a quiet, observant man with kind eyes. I contacted him, hesitantly explaining my situation. To my surprise, he readily agreed to take Omar in. "It is our duty," he said, his voice thick with an accent I hadn't heard in years. "He is family, we will guide him." Omar predictably fought me tooth and nail. "You're sending me away to freaking Russia. Are you kidding me?" His eyes, so like Layla's, flashed with fury. I stood my ground, though every word felt like a betrayal of the promise I made to her, to protect him. I framed it as an opportunity, a chance to connect with his heritage, to learn about his mother's culture. He just sneered. The journey was grueling. First, the long flight to Moscow, then another to Makhachkala, the capital of Dagestan. Finally, a bone-jarring ride in an ancient Lada up winding mountain roads, past sheer cliffs and breathtaking vistas. The air grew thin, the landscape rugged and unforgiving. The village, when we finally arrived, was like stepping back in time. Stone houses clung to the mountainside, smoke curling from chimneys. Men in traditional papaka hats gathered in the square, their faces etched with the wisdom and hardship of generations. Women in colorful headscarves carried baskets of produce, their eyes curious but cautious. Ibrahim greeted us warmly, embracing me like a long-lost brother. He was taller than I remembered, his face lined but his eyes still kind. His wife, Fatima, stood beside him, a small, quiet woman with an enigmatic smile. They ushered us into their home, a simple but comfortable stone house with thick carpets and intricately woven tapestries. Omar remained sullen and withdrawn, his eyes darting around the room with suspicion. He spoke only when spoken to, his answers clipped and monosyllabic. The next few days were a blur of introductions, awkward conversations, and attempts to bridge the cultural gap. I tried to explain to Omar the importance of respecting their traditions, of learning their language, of embracing his mother's heritage. He just shrugged, plugged in his earbuds, and retreated into his digital world. The day I left was the hardest. Standing at the edge of the village, the wind whipping around us, I hugged Omar tightly. "Be good," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "Learn something. Make your mother proud." He didn't say anything, just pulled away and walked towards Ibrahim, his shoulders slumped, his face a mask of resentment. As the Lada bumped its way back down the mountain, I looked back at the village, a cluster of stone houses clinging to the mountainside. A knot of unease tightened in my stomach. I tried to dismiss it as simple separation anxiety, the fear of leaving my son in a strange and unfamiliar place. But deep down, I knew it was something more, something darker. Back in America, the silence in the house was deafening. It was supposed to be a relief, a chance to breathe. But all I felt was a gnawing emptiness, a constant worry for Omar. His messages were infrequent, terse. "It's okay. Things are fine. I'm learning the language." They felt hollow, forced. I started researching Dagestan, devouring articles and documentaries about its history, its culture, its people. The more I learned, the more uneasy I became. The region was a melting pot of ethnicities and religions, a volatile mix of ancient traditions and modern influences. I stumbled upon accounts of Sufi mystics, ancient pagan rituals, and deeply ingrained superstitions. Whispers of mountain spirits and malevolent entities. I tried contacting Ibrahim for more detailed updates on Omar. His responses were vague and dismissive. He is adjusting well. He is learning our ways. Do not worry, David. He is in good hands. The delays between messages grew longer, the tone increasingly distant. I sensed he was hiding something. Then the strange things started happening. A recurring dream, vivid and disturbing. I was standing in the village square, surrounded by villagers in traditional clothing. They were chanting in a language I didn't understand, their eyes fixed on me with a chilling intensity. In the center of the square, Omar was being led towards an altar, his face blank and unresponsive. Objects in the house moving inexplicably. A book falling off the shelf, a picture frame tilting on the wall. I dismissed them as my imagination, stress-induced hallucinations. But the feeling of being watched, of being followed, persisted. The package arrived a few weeks later, a small, crudely wrapped parcel from Dagestan. Inside, nestled in layers of newspaper, was a wooden doll. It was intricately carved, depicting a young boy with dark hair and brooding eyes. It looked eerily like Omar. Attached to the doll was a note, written in a script I didn't recognize. I scanned it, copied it, and pasted it into every translator I could find online. All failed. Just question marks. The doll felt wrong, cold, ominous. I threw it in the trash, but the image of its blank, staring eyes lingered in my mind. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I booked a flight back to Dagestan, determined to see Omar and find out what was really going on. The village felt different this time. The warmth I had felt on my first visit was gone, replaced by a palpable tension. The villagers eyed me with suspicion, their greetings curt and forced. Ibrahim greeted me with a strained smile. David, what a surprise. We were not expecting you. He looked older, his face drawn, his eyes lacking their former warmth. Omar was there, standing beside him. He had changed. He was thinner, his skin pale, his eyes dull and lifeless. He barely acknowledged my presence, offering a weak nod before turning away. Omar, I said, reaching out to touch his arm. It's good to see you, son. He flinched away from my touch. Hello, father, he said, his voice flat and emotionless. Over the next few days, I tried to reconnect with Omar, to break through the wall that had grown between us, but it was no use. He was like a ghost, present in body but absent in spirit. He spent most of his time with Ibrahim, learning the local customs, attending religious ceremonies. He seemed lost. I confronted Ibrahim, accusing him of keeping secrets. What's going on, Ibrahim? What have you done to my son? He became defensive, his voice rising. We have done nothing but care for him. He is learning our ways, embracing his heritage. You should be grateful, David. He is becoming a man. He's not becoming a man, I retorted. He's becoming a shell of himself. He's not my son anymore. Ibrahim's eyes flashed with anger. You do not understand our ways, David. You are an outsider. You cannot judge us. I knew I had to get to the truth myself. I started asking questions, talking to the villagers, trying to piece together what was happening, but they were tight-lipped, evasive. They closed ranks, their loyalty to Ibrahim unwavering. Then I met Aisha. She was a young girl, maybe 12 or 13, with bright, intelligent eyes. She had befriended Omar and seemed genuinely concerned about him. He is not happy, she whispered to me one day, her eyes darting around nervously. He is different. He is like a shadow. I pressed her, asking what she meant. She hesitated, then told me stories she'd overheard from the older women in the village. Stories of ancient rituals, of mountain spirits, of a dark pact made generations ago. Stories of a curse that clung to the village, demanding a sacrifice. I dismissed them as folklore, superstition. But Aisha's fear was palpable. She warned me that Omar was in danger, that Ibrahim was planning something. She led me to a hidden cave on the outskirts of the village. Inside, the walls were covered in strange symbols, painted in what looked like dried blood. Animal bones were scattered on the floor, and in the center of the cave stood a crude stone altar. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just superstition. This was something dark, something sinister. As we emerged from the cave, we were surrounded. Ibrahim and a group of villagers, their faces grim, their eyes filled with a chilling fanaticism. You have seen too much, David, Ibrahim said, his voice devoid of emotion. You cannot leave this place. They dragged us back to the village square. The same square I had seen in my dreams. The villagers were gathered, chanting in that same strange language. In the center of the square, the altar stood waiting. Omar was there, his eyes blank and unresponsive. He was being led towards the altar, his movements slow and deliberate. I fought them, struggling against their grip, but it was no use. They were too strong, too many. Ibrahim began the ritual, chanting in the ancient language, his voice echoing through the square. He raised a knife, its blade glinting in the flickering torchlight. "No," I screamed, my voice raw with terror. "Don't do this, he's my son." Ibrahim ignored me, his eyes fixed on Omar. He brought the knife down and everything went black. When I came to, I was tied to a post, forced to watch as they continued the ritual. Omar was lying on the altar, his body still and lifeless. Ibrahim was chanting, his voice growing louder, more intense. The villagers swayed back and forth, their eyes glazed over with religious fervor. I saw old man Magam step forward. He was a wizened old man, his face etched with the lines of 1,000 years. He was rumored to be a shaman, a keeper of ancient knowledge. Magam challenged Ibrahim, his voice surprisingly strong. He accused him of abusing the ancient traditions, of twisting them for his own gain. A power struggle ensued, the villagers divided between Ibrahim and Magam. Chaos erupted in the square. Aisha saw her chance. She slipped through the crowd and cut my bonds. "Run," she whispered. "Take Omar and run." I grabbed Omar's lifeless body and ran, Aisha leading the way. We fled into the mountains, the villagers hot on our heels. We reached a remote mountain pass, a narrow trail clinging to the side of a sheer cliff. We were trapped. Ibrahim and the villagers emerged from the trees, their faces contorted with rage. "There is nowhere left to run, David," Ibrahim said, his voice dripping with venom. "He belongs to us now." Suddenly, Omar stirred. He sat up on his feet, his eyes snapping open. But they were not the eyes of my son. They were dark, empty, soulless. He turned to me, his face expressionless. A deep voice came from his mouth, a new voice. "You should not have come here, father," he said. "Dagestan is now my home.